I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, were there additions or changes to the agenda?
I just wanted to point out that we did have number 9, it was approved lease credit card, Northwoods Credit Union.
Okay.
That's something that was on the original copy.
I printed new, there was some, I just laid a couple here in front of you.
Yeah.
Some here, but-
Just wanted to make sure that was there.
Could we take number 6 from the consent, because I want a little discussion, and tie that in when we discuss with cuts? I have a question or two, if I may.
Okay,
Either through discussion number 3 or down on number 1 on the agenda, either one. Thank you.
yeah, let's just
Number
put it as number 3 on the agenda, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
the coach's contract, number 3. That way we keep them all separate and.
That's fine.
That works?
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Any other additions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Ben, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda. A motion and second, we have move number 6 to agenda item number 3.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, and now we get a second. I'll second. Go ahead. Okay. Any other discussion?
I just have one thing that, just so you know what is happening with the credit card, we no longer got cash back on our credit card, so we are transferring it over to the Northwoods Credit Union
Okay.
where we would get cash back.
All right, if no other discussion, then all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public participation, we got a number of folks, again, 3 minutes per person, and Jamie, you gonna do the count?
You bet.
All right, and we will not, we'll listen, and we're not discussing, but we've got Jessica Majuris, questions about cell towers. You're up first, Jessica.
Hi. The last time I was here, I had questions for you regarding taking I should start by saying my daughter's in 4th grade, my son is in pre-K. The last time I was here, I had questions about taking what is now the current 4th grade, when they were going into 3rd grade, and smashing them down into 2 sections. I don't know if you saw the MCAs, but that class is currently behind the MCAs. So my question is, I found out that there were going to be cell towers placed on school grounds, and I'd like to know how much money those cell towers are going to bring in, and I'd like to know where that money is going to be allocated. Are we going to get help for classes like my daughter's that are behind? Are we going to get more mental health help at this school? I don't know if you know, but at East Central School, not only do they have tons of mental health professionals for their kids, but they even have some for their staff. Are we gonna get, what are we gonna get from that? Where is it gonna go? Are we just getting like a concession stand? Or are we gonna get some actual tangible help for the people in the school?
So we typically don't respond, but on that particular one, I can respond in the fact that in the contract, basically, we're getting money for the electricity that these use. So it's not like a regular cell tower, these are mini towers that are put up on top of the light poles. So when you're thinking that there's lots of money, like we were gonna get one at the old school, we would have got, a good chunk of money. We are not getting a lot of, we're talking hundreds of dollars, not
So we're not
thousands.
getting hardly any money at all
No, you're getting better reception.
in the school? That's what the school is getting? Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. Jeff Olson, Transportation Department.
I believe I will be able to save the district at least the $25,000 that has been told is needed to save my job. These numbers were with regards to the current budget numbers. In response to the possible elimination of my position, I will read a letter that I've prepared. I'm here tonight to talk about the direct request by Mr. Endahar to eliminate my job. Within days of our superintendent receiving a 5K raise and a 3-year contract, I was told by him that my job is being eliminated and I should start looking for a new job. When asked why to do this, he said to save money. In the last 9 years as an employee of the school, I have saved our school district hundreds of thousands of dollars by eliminating 2 bus routes, doing most vehicle repairs in-house, moving to a bus lease program versus buying and eliminating the mounds of tires and extra parts on hand at the garage. We're also saving several $1,000s every year due to propane buses. Fuel costs are cut and can now be budgeted due to lower fixed costs of propane versus diesel or gas. And we are saving an estimated $3K on electricity because block heaters don't need to be plugged in. Mr. Endahar states I can't keep within my budget. My department is trimmed to the max and I am buying only essential items. After reviewing my budget, I can see I have very little control over my budget, and I have also never been asked or involved in any budget discussions. Mr. Endahar stated I have time management issues. The transportation department needs have increased considerably since I started, and many more duties have been added to my job requirements. We now have 4 district vehicles for transportation of special needs and out-of-district students. The scheduling and rerouting for this alone takes several hours a month due to the constant changes. Bus route changes and additions also take considerable time due to our lack of an effective routing program and the constant change in the personal lives of families and students. When I started, I had no computers, no policy training, no campus program, no budget discussions, and no cameras on buses. To this day, I have computer issues due to poor quality internet connections. The duties I am responsible for are being done in other districts by several people, not just a transportation supervisor. If you eliminate my position, you will have to hire several people to do the things I'm not doing. How will this be saving money? I've been telling Mr. Endahar for several years it is too much here for one person, and his response is always poor time management. On March 14th, I had a 4-hour discussion with Steve Blondo about what really goes on in the bus garage and why it would be a bad idea to eliminate my position. He told me the information he received from Mr. Endahar looked good on paper, but after talking with me, he could see that maybe this might not be the best option. Mr. Endahar, within hours of me returning home from surgery, you sent me an email wanting an update and also wanted me to do some bus scheduling. I was in no condition to respond to you personally, so I had my wife email you back using my cell phone. Her exact response was, "Hi Bob, this is Lee Ellen. I brought Jeff home at 1 o'clock this afternoon. He has 2 pins and stitches in this and a shattered bone and laceration. He will be out for 1 week on a week-by-week basis for 6 weeks. He cannot put any pressure on his left hand for 6 weeks. No physically using the left hand. He cannot be expected to arrange for buses while on sick leave, so you will have to find someone else to do that. If you have any questions, please call me." 13 minutes later, your response was, "Lee Ellen, you should not be on the school's email. Have Jeff call me when he is able." Our response back was, "Sorry, I just thought you deserved a response.
30 seconds.
Thank you for your concern. In the 6 weeks I was out, you never contacted me with questions, even though I said, call me if you have questions. I also stopped in your office twice and gave you reports on my progress. Nothing was said. I was called in your office my first day back, and you ranted several minutes that I hadn't talked to you about. I was out and you had no idea my job entailed. When you were finished, you stated there, I feel better, I had to get that off my chest. Now you're telling me the board over-exaggerated my duties? I have called a liar and I can't be trusted to tell the truth. You have said I'm computer illiterate, incapable of doing my job. This verbal beratement and personal dislike for me did not start until a relative of mine board opposed a 3-year contract.
Jeff, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay,
All right.
I would like to pass this up to the board members.
Thank you.
Thanks. I can pass some down, Jeff.
Next, we've got Robert Wrench, unplanned maintenance events.
Good evening, board and all attendees. I'm Robert Wrench. I'm a bus driver, bus number 4 for Moose Lake. I've been here for 2 years. Prior to that, I was a over-the-road truck driver for 2 years. I've 38 years in military as a vehicle transportation officer, as a helicopter maintenance test pilot, and as a combat pilot and medevac pilot. I've had a lot of dealings with command structures and the need for organized, well-staffed departments within an organization. One of the organizations or parts of the staff has to be the transportation department, which has to run very effectively, smoothly with competent, trained, professional people who are motivated by good leadership to do their job well. There have been a number of unplanned incidents that have happened just this year. One of them was on 12 November. It had to do with a situation called Murphy's Epigram. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, whether it be mechanical or human. I did back into a situation where my bus became stuck. I notified the staff, in this case Mr. Endahar, who made contacts with a towing agency. They were unsuccessful. At that point, I was without communication and ability to get the vehicle out of the situation. Through radio communication with the other drivers, we were able to effect a replacement bus to come pick up the students. I had on my own to contact a towing agency to get the bus removed from the ditch, and it required a more substantial service than what was initially provided. Another event, not so much with the maintenance, but a need for good, effective coordination for the movement of students occurred on the 12th of March when a trip was scheduled for the band and choir to the UMD. It
30 seconds.
exceeded the time necessary to get back to the school. A coordination for replacement vehicles was necessary, and that was effectively handled by our bus supervisor. Bus 7, stuck in the ice on March 13th. Lack of communication, no cell, no telephone, unavailable to get any assistance. There could have been 2 or many more students on the bus who would have remained without service or ability to get out. So we need a well-qualified, motivated, and supported bus driver to run this department. Thank you.
Thank you. Tess Christensen, health issues regarding towers.
I just wanted to speak to the cell tower issue, and I don't know if there's been discussion on this at all, or how much is known about this, but there are health concerns related to cell towers. The radio frequency radiation that's given off from any wireless device poses a threat to people's health, and especially kids, because they're not fully developed. They're obviously smaller, their skulls are thinner, and their brain and immune systems are fully developed. So when we're looking at cell towers, we're creating an environment where there's radiation in the kid's day 24/7. Other devices I realize pose the same threat, but we have more control over those. We can shut things off, we can limit use, and placement, those sorts of things. Cell towers, once they're up, they're on, and they are putting out that pollution throughout the whole school area. So there's no off button there. So my concern is, what does that look like for our kids and for my 2 little ones, who are just starting elementary, when the effects don't show themselves right away. That this is a cumulative effect that a lot of scientists and doctors are concerned about. So what does that look like in 5 years? A lot of studies can tell us that what they're seeing are things, and these are legitimate peer-reviewed studies. There's DNA breaks, oxidative stress, immune dysfunction. There's impacts on brain development and cognitive and memory issues, things like behavior, anxiety, attention. I mean, there's a long list of things that are impacted by this input on these little bodies. And if any of you have worked with kids, you know, and I'm sure you have, You know, that if kids are tired or they're feeling bad, they're not, that is not an optimal learning situation. So my concern is that if we're putting, they don't have the ability to identify how that feels or what's happening and really articulate that, or, I'm thinking of my 5-year-old, he's not gonna be able to identify that. So if he's in a situation and he's not learning at his best, what does that do for our outcomes down the road? There's a lot of talk about test scores. It might be a minimal effect, who knows, but it can definitely have an effect, especially long term. I know FCC puts out information that these things are safe, and the telecom industry will tell you the same, but they're using a standard that's from 1996. That was that was a very different environment. So I guess my ask to the board and our administration is that before we move forward with this plan, that we have a thorough investigation of what the potential health impacts are, and that includes us as community members that help to fund this school and whose kids are the ones taking this on.
You have 4 seconds left.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And Tess, you were gonna meet with me and give me some of that information, because the information that we've got is these are no more harmful than a baby monitor or a Bluetooth headset. And on top of it, they're 30 feet in the air, not right next to the kids. So there is, it's not,
Yeah,
there's 2 different
Was that
sides
information
on
from
that.
telecom?
Say that again?
Where was the information from?
I thought it was
cell
the
phone tower
FCC. I was,
people?
when I was talking to you, I was
Yeah.
talking about the FCC, and then we were talking about FCC and American Cancer Society and the literature, because my concern was I did not want to have a Verizon slant on it. I asked them to give me something besides the telecom. So,
I did bring information to share, so I'll pass that out, and then I will follow up with an email to provide some peer-reviewed, unbiased studies for you.
All right, thank you. Next up, Chris, community school. Welcome back.
So the name of this school is Moose Lake Community School. So I'm coming over here as a neighbor because I don't want you to forget that. Because that road, Coneska Road, has never been ditched. And my yard last fall was the wettest. It was wetter than it was in the 2012 flood. And I think it has something to do with the way the water is drained off the school property. And you guys promised you were gonna be working on that. So please do not forget. So other than that, again, it's called Moose Lake Community School. And the word community should be emphasized, and that not only means the kids, it means people that work around here. And I know when I was on the board, I asked if we could do job descriptions, and we have not done job descriptions since you've come into this new building. And there is a lot of things that is different. And so, not just the administration, we need job descriptions on everybody. And this school is not just the administration. I can't believe how you can vote for a contract before you had a set budget, and now you gotta go back and make cuts. I think there's something missing there, and that was the wrong order. Teachers. The teachers are a part of this school as well. And so I think they do a number of great things, and I think our kids remember teachers, they remember administrators, they remember everybody they come in contact with, but our kids can't read. And then we have the apology, well, we might be the same. Well, if something doesn't work, and you don't do something about it, and you get the same result, it's called insanity, people. So please do something with the reading program. And don't say, I can't help it, because you can. And that's everybody. And the teachers do a lot of great things. It's just that I taught English, and I'm interested in the kids being able to read, because they won't survive in this world if they can't. Then we have community school. We have computer people. People don't realize what they've done to get this building going and the sacrifices they made. And then we get comments about like, well, somebody's not healthy. I don't know if I want to work with people. That sort of stuff is just awful. This is a community school. We should represent everyone together. Then we also have the bus drivers, which is the most difficult job there is in this school because kids are not belted in. We have kids that are supposed to be on IEPs, and they're supposed to have a person with them, a para. and they ride the bus without anybody, and then the bus driver is supposed to drive and take care of that. We need to start looking at our system. And thank you, bus drivers. You're underappreciated. We have custodians. Oh my God, what the job they've done in this building and what they did in 2012. I don't think we appreciate what we have. Again, I want to emphasize that word community. Go back to transportation. Jeff saved us lots of money when we went to leasing, and you guys know that. And we have to almost do it because every 3 years we can get new buses. Otherwise, we were using buses that can be up to 12 years old. Doesn't work anymore. You got to go with the times.
Okay.
And then with the, is that time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then the last thing, I had a couple more, and I didn't want to forget the cooks, and I didn't want to forget the parents. Encourage growth in everybody. And remember, guys, our motto is excellence for life. And that's on you guys. Excellence for life.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, Amanda Brown. Busing.
I just wanted to speak in support of Jeff. I don't personally know Jeff, but I've got to know Jeff over the past 6 years. I've had some pretty significant busing issues that have started when my daughter was in kindergarten. I've had a very large lack of support from the school in addressing these issues. Until recently, I'm starting to get a little bit more support, but we'll see where that ends up. And I just wanted to say that I think you should, remain part of the staff, so.
Thank you. Gary Benoit, budget cuts.
I'm Gary Benoit, and I'm also a bus driver for Moose Lake Bus Number 9. And I would just like to read a letter that I sent to all the board members the other night. I hope you all had a chance to review that. And for anybody that didn't, I'd like to read it now. I sent this out last Thursday night to all the board members. I am absolutely furious about the proposed budget cuts. At least 3 positions are being cut that I'm aware of. A bus supervisor, a bus driver, a teacher, and possibly a nursing position. Also, $20,000 in educational materials, I was told, is about $150,000 worth of cuts. Any board member that would vote to get rid of the bus supervisor's position hasn't spent 5 minutes of their time at the bus garage. I will tell you that Mr. Olson spends many more hours trying to accomplish all his duties than he gets paid for. Bus drivers are constant, buses are constant like broken arms, lights, doors, lifts, and the list goes on and on. Anyone who's taken notice that the bus continue to pass state inspections annually because of the job that Jeff is doing. His endless hours every day arranging for transportation for all the students, special needs students, to Duluth, Cloquet, and extracurricular activity bus schedules wherever they need to go. I understand that someone would be hired for the bus maintenance, dispatching, and all of the other jobs that Jeff is already doing. So I'm just wondering if anybody's getting the picture here. As a bus driver, how do you plan on getting all the kids to school? How do you cover all the routes with one less bus and driver? My route has kids on the bus for 1 hour and 15 minutes already. How are these cuts saving money? In my opinion, it would be a great disservice to the school district to get rid of these positions. How can any board member justify making these cuts? $150,000. Well, 6 weeks ago, you gave the highest paid position in the school district a $5,000 a year raise for the next 3 years. That's insanity, in my opinion. All of you board members need to consider what you are voting on. People's livelihoods are affected. Anyone who votes yes on these proposals would owe the public a big explanation. So I would ask that any board member tonight that is voting yes, please give us some justification or clarification after you do that or before. Thank you.
Thanks. Paul Christensen.
Yeah.
Question about cell towers.
I am, yeah. Thanks for letting me take the time. I thought I put my name on the list because I figured Tess wouldn't talk fast enough to get everything out, so I'm glad I did that.
You get 4 seconds.
Yeah. I just wanted to add to that too, that I think, in some of this, I think that the rewards versus risks on something like this
I think that has to be taken into consideration, and we've learned through the years that there's been many things that, whether it's the FCC or whether that's the Surgeon General or whoever you want to say, years ago in a room like this, if we would have gone back 20 years ago, there would have been people standing here smoking right now in this room. Now we know that's a bad idea. We used to have to fight to get seatbelts in cars. There's a lot of things that once were that aren't. I wanted to point out that the risk that's involved with this. There's countries that actually ban this in schools. France won't allow. What we're talking about is small cell technology. It's not like a wireless router in your house. This is called small cell technology, also known as 5G. It's in the news out in Berkeley. There's many counties, many school districts that are banning this, that won't allow it. Usually the opposition is because it's a moneymaker for the school. I had talked to Stephen Blondo before on some of this. You know, if you read the contract, I got a hold of this today and actually read it from front to back. It's $150 a month at most. You're talking about, what, $1,600, $1,800, you know, at most? That's not a moneymaker. It's not a generator. And that certainly isn't worth the risk. And I think that before you take a vote on this, remember that there's been many things over the course of time that we have gone back on now and we say, what were we thinking? Why would we have ever done that? This is one of those times. And I can see that if there was some real opportunity or a generator, there might be some discussion on this and I could see where it would be vetted out. But this simply just, the risk does not outweigh the reward on this one. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
And I think you should keep the bus driver supervisor position since I have time.
4 seconds.
Last up is Jack Cobb.
My name is Jack Kopp. I'm a 3-year special needs van driver this time, but I've done it in our forces, even the transportation director. Everyone knows that Jeff Olson does a great job of managing the bus garage and employees as well as doing all the maintenance on the buses and special needs vans. The most time-consuming part of his job is dispatching the buses and special needs vans. When a new student starts or quits, all the parents must be notified about the new time and routes that have to be changed. Who is going to do this? I would like to talk about the integrity of this man. Although he was told his job would be eliminated, he has kept working hard instead of not trying like many would have. This is the type of person we should have and be proud of working for this school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Pass this down. All right. Next up on the agenda, we've got presentations. Bob, you want to do Sandy?
We have Sandy Hoff here. He is from FI Salter, and so he's the person that did the appraisal on our 73 property. He's not necessarily going to talk about the money portion of it, but he's going to talk about the concept behind what he saw out there.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. School Board, good evening. You can pass that map around. What I'm passing around depicts one of the concept plans that was the basis for my initial analysis. And tonight I'm going to give you a really brief overview of what we've looked at. Let's see, let's take a look. Don't pass that one around. Let's pass this one around. That's a hand sketch that could be Plan B someday. So we'll wait on that one until we look at the report. The discovery, as I met with the superintendent and Tim Peterson, was that you've got a unique opportunity in this community to develop the corridor along 73 and 10. I think it's going to take cooperative effort between the city and the school district to create something special there. I think you've got such a unique facility here that you've developed. We've explored ways to not only create success with the plan that's proposed here, but the sketch I've got here, which I'll wait until we go over it in the report, holds some different opportunity in how we can integrate a mixed-use commercial development into your sports fields, the trails, and better create an asset for the community. I think the reality is the school district is going to need to stay involved for a while in this process. I was asked to come up with a price, a value on that land, and we can certainly do that. I've done that. But after you see the price for the land, you say, well, why would we sell it for that one if we stick along in the process of it bit longer, we could actually create some success here. It would generate more revenue for the community and certainly for the school district. And so we've explored all sorts of options on how to make this financially feasible and impactful for your community long term. The challenge that we have is that the cost of roads and infrastructure are such that getting a developer to come in right up front is a challenge. Even if you have a tax increment financing district, it's going to take some creative thinking and finesse for this whole process. And not only am I an appraiser, but I've done some development work and I'm in the process of doing a number of developments. And so I live it firsthand on what it takes to create success. So real quick analysis for you tonight is that you've got some opportunity. I think with some cooperative work between a developer, the school district, and the city, you can do something special here long term. And I look forward to being invited back to share the details of my report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, discussion. Number one on discussion is 2018-19 school calendar and makeup of full board days that were missed. Bob?
I would recommend you delay this another month, and then we
Alright.
can talk about it. As you know, the governor, or there's legislation going through to absolve you of the student days, at least 2 of them. So, we don't know how many more days we've got left as far as snow days, so let's do 1 more month, and by then we should have better idea.
How many do we have so far?
We have 4 total, so there's 2 days that need to be made up with students.
All right, we'll talk about that next month. Phase 3 and 4 school board training. Julie actually brought this, we got the list, but, yes. So who still has to do, Jamie, have you done phase 3 or 4? 3, okay. So, Julie needs 4. Lisa, 3 and 4? Okay. Jerry, you need 3 and 4. 3 and 4.
I need 3 and 4.
3 and 4, 3 and 4. So, there are options if we, they're offering those March through April for phase 3 and April through phase 4. And I thought it would be kind of nice, I think you were the one that mentioned we could go together as a group, if that works with the timing.
I mean, it's not like it said that already team, or phase 3, but it actually says it teaches the board to work as a team, and that probably isn't gonna hurt this board to attend. When is?
Oh, the date's not in there.
If you have to get the dates coordinated, would be fine.
Yeah. So these,
I have medical appointments with my oncologist, so I will not be going.
okay, all right. No problem.
You can't get to any of them?
I'm not doing it. My medical, well, you can shake your head, but my medical appointments are more important than a couple meetings. Sorry,
Jamie, you wanna look at any of those dates and see?
The location makes a difference too.
Or locate, yeah, so the closest ones are what, St. Cloud and Mount Iron?
Maple Grove isn't even that bad either, it's not that
Yeah.
side of the city.
Any of those work? And we can look at these and discuss later as well, but just to get them all on the.
Wednesday, April 10th, the Mountain Iron would probably be the easiest one for anybody on the Mountain Iron side of that drive. If anybody's doing it that way.
Yes, that one. Do that one.
Yeah,
Thursday, April 25th.
yeah, the only days that work for me are the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. I'm out of town all the days.
23, 24, 25? Okay.
And but phase 4, that's for phase 3, so
3, okay.
10th, 11th, and 12th, and 24th work meetings for phase 4.
11, 12,
Oh, sorry, take it back.
Nope.
April 11th, 12th, and 24th are the only days that work for me.
Okay. Everyone wanna send dates or look at these and give me dates and then we can
You can try to
plan, I can try and organize it. Alright, sounds good. Next then, our reports, we've got, superintendent report.
I wanted to start off with the update of our goals. I said I would bring that to you. This is something that you're interested in doing, again, is to, do a goal-setting session. We need to probably talk about that a little bit. If you remember, our first goal was to, increase student learning and achievement. And, I wrote down the updates on the right side there, increasing phonics, we're on a continuous improvement plan right now. PLCs are focused on impacting standards. I'm gonna take a look at those. We had another one dealing with finance. Finance is one of the issues that, as far as the general fund goes, we are really kind of not meeting that goal. And it's probably something that we're gonna need to continue to do. Facilities and properties, we've done pretty well on that one. That one is, a lot of those have been completed. And then building community relations and pride, a lot of those are ongoing issues. But you can kind of see some of the things that you've done over the last 3 to 5 years, so. The question that I have is that you want to do a goal-setting session. But at what level? What are you looking at, or what are you asking of me for that? Because you had said, well, we should probably do this on our own. Are we looking at just revising this document? Are we looking at completely doing a new document? Or what are we looking at?
I don't know if we have to reinvent the wheel, we can certainly use it as a base.
Okay.
Well, for me, considering I just completed phase 1 and phase 2 training, I wanted to wrap my head around what's our current template now? What are people's thoughts, feedback, whatever, that we really don't have opportunities to discuss in a board setting? And then make sure we're all on the same page in terms of understanding our responsibilities as a board member, understanding what expectations we need to provide him, as far as he has to answer to us, or are his expectations clearly laid out by us. Those are the open discussions, not necessarily to reinvent a template that may already exist, that works. That was the reasoning behind my suggestion for that meeting with the working board type of a setting. I don't know if everyone feels the same way and would feel that would be advantageous, but for me, that was the reason why I thought it was that.
Some general discussion about how things
Yeah,
help you work and operate and
right.
and then maybe even just sort of going through these goals and
Is that at our working board meeting next week?
yeah, and maybe going through these goals and just getting some general brainstorming on them and
Right,
see.
and training was fresh on my mind, and I just wanna make sure,
Sure.
are we applying these steps, and are we taking our responsibilities as a board hat-wearing individual, that we're following these guidelines.
Seems that that could then get turned into goals, but is that something we wanna do internally, or is that something where we maybe start with this brainstorming session and this sort of discussion, and then move it to a goal setting next after that?
And I think, can I just throw, I think we have it scheduled for next Monday, right? We're
Yes.
going
Yeah,
to-
our working board meeting.
Working board meeting.
Yeah.
Next Monday, yeah.
Yeah, we did schedule it.
6
It's
o'clock.
not in the, on the agenda, but we did
25th.
schedule it at the last meeting, so.
Oh my gosh. Say it, I'm not telling.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
And not until either last meeting, so.
let's just reschedule that then, and
Okay, we can do that at the end, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to throw that out there. At the last meeting, we did schedule that. So.
And now, is this something you want me to lead? Is that what you're looking for?
Probably not, I'm thinking, and then, we'll do a subsequent follow-up meeting where you do participate. What do you guys think?
So we'll just run it and, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a clarification. Didn't we put, like, assistant coaches under number 3 discussion, or was that moved down to 6?
Oh, agenda number 3, because we still have to.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you.
So we just we'll just run this as a meeting to discuss,
A working board
working board meeting to discuss, and then, give it back to Bob and kind of figure it out from there.
But
Or
I'm
you want
good if
somebody outside coming in?
if I'm the only one that feels the benefits out of it, we can make it more of a, get Bob involved and provide expectations from the template that already exists. I'm good with that, I just wanted to throw that out since training was freshly trained. I wanted to
Maybe we
kind
could
of use
start-
that, take advantage.
Start with that, and then if we wanna get more in depth from there, we could schedule another.
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
good.
Bob should be at the meeting though, so he knows where we're coming from, so you're not, we might even have to lead in the meeting, but you'll be here.
Well, I mean, I think Jamie and I were talking initially about the benefits of a working board. I think that's, I don't know if that's closed meeting or whatever, or not.
Or it's just, it's a lot, we can't make official, we can't make
It's not
decisions,
closed.
cause, well,
I don't think it is closed.
it's not closed though, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see the value of all of us individually bringing our thoughts to the table, but there's a level of unity that we have to make sure we stick with. And I was hoping we can at least walk away with that as well.
Sure.
Working board setting. But I'm available Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week, 27th, 28th, and 29th, if anyone wants to look
I
at
put
their
it under,
schedules.
I put it under set meeting event dates, we'll reschedule it at that.
Okay, we'll
at the end of-
communicate,
Yeah, that
yeah,
works.
sure.
Okay. Alright,
The other thing you had asked of me was to get some data on nurses and what they're paid and that type of thing. And so you have a sheet, I got this from Trina at the hospital. This is, you can kind of read it, but basically if you're getting a certified nursing assistant, the middle point is somewhere around $20 an hour. An LPN is a little bit more, but not much, and an RN is about $35 an hour. And at the bottom, you can see where Marine's been here for a long time, and so she's at about 37 an hour without benefits. And so we can do any combination. My recommendation still is going to be to, at some level, have an RN so we can get the MA billing. That would not be wise not to have an RN for some part of it. They have to oversee it or be here for a particular period of time or.
Do you want more in-depth questions about that when we go over the budget stuff, or do you want it now, or? Because this is the problem I've always had, is what you said was that I'd like to see at some point in our involvement, I want to know before any decisions are made exactly what it looks like. I just don't have, I just can't make a decision unless I know how many hours an RN has to be, if there has to be an RN, how many is the LPN, can we have an LPN, can we have a certified medical assistant or nurse's assistant, whatever you call it.
So, but the answer is yes, you can do any combination of
you
that,
gotta-
but.
What do you wanna do? You know what I mean? Just tell us how many hours this person's gonna be here and what's the day
Well,
look
I was
like.
gonna have an RN from 9 to 3, right? And so
Okay.
that was what my proposal was. And then you said, no, I wanna see what an LPN would be. So you could have any combination in between there. You could go 1 hour with an RN and 5 hours with an LPN. Or you could go 1 hour with an RN and do 7 hours with an LPN. So there's all those different combinations, and, this is one of our budget cuts. I mean, if we're gonna be looking at positions, this is the time to do it when a person is actually leaving. And so that was the,
What do
the
you
idea
recommend?
behind it.
I mean, you gotta recommend, you gotta tell us how much it's gonna be.
I recommended an RN for 6 hours out of the day, from 9 to 3. But then you said, no, look at LPN.
Right.
My issue is, we do get money, we get significant money through MA billing for the nurse, as long as it's an RN. At some point, they have to be involved. If we have no RN, we can get by with less money, but then we can't pull in MA monies. So,
But if we do 6 hours at our end, and Marine did 8, that's 2 hours less.
but the new person coming in will not get paid what Marine got paid. And so.
What are you thinking? Just so we know in the budget, what are you thinking?
Well, okay.
28, because that's the low.
I can tell you that Maureen was on the teacher's salary, so she was, you know, at the bottom. The person coming in would have to come in at the top.
Which is,
And we may not even put them on the teacher's salary, so.
so which one are you thinking? 28 or the 34?
You could start at 28.
I would think that, having them for 6 hours, like, the RN for 6 versus for 2, and then 4 hours with the LPN.
How
That
much
just
does that
gets,
save?
but that gets messy with trying to find somebody to come in for 2 hours and come in for 4 hours, and
I'm good if you're gonna recommend 6, I just wanna know how much it is. I mean, I know you negotiate coming in, but how much savings is that gonna be compared to Marine? Did you say she didn't have benefits?
She does
She
have
does.
benefits, I'm just saying.
This one, what-
These numbers are apples to apples, they're without benefits. So, if you keep her the hours the same, assuming the person comes in at step 1, you automatically save 15,000, okay? If you cut 2 hours on top of that, the total that you save is 25,000. That's where we came up with that number. If you want to save more than that, what you would do is you would have probably more LPN or LPN time versus RN time. Now, the next question is, can you get somebody for those hours? And so I think we almost have to take it step by step, because if you can't get somebody for those hours, then of course,
Well, here's another option, I mean, you don't have to be like 2 and 6 or 4 and 4, you could have an RN on Monday and Wednesday, and have the LPN on Wednesday, Thursday, what did I say, Wednesday or say Tuesday? But you know what I meant, another 3 days of the week, whether it's 6 or 8 hours. They, you know, because there's a lot of nurses that would like to work just 2 days a week and go home and plant their.
I mean, it does have benefits, because you're looking at, you know, 176 days versus a full year. You're working with kids, good place to work, you know, those types of things. But
I personally don't know the qualification difference of an LPN and an RN in terms of, as a parent of children that goes to school here, I need to know what kind of care they're gonna be given. With it going down from 8 to 6, that really comes into play too. So, yeah, if we factor in the MA reimbursement aspect for RN only, I do support more of a upgraded professional, if you wanna call an RN more upgraded versus an LPN. If that is a wash, since that reimbursement is gonna probably make up the difference of the lower cost of an LPN, since we don't get reimbursement for an LPN hour, right? Is that true?
well, if they were directed by an RN, then you would.
Oh, okay.
Are we required by the state to have a certain number of hours, or is it just up to us?
So, the school our size is not required to have a nurse. That's not what I'm recommending, but just so you know,
Yeah.
if you're under 1,000 students, you're not required to have a nurse.
Thank you.
I'm just afraid of making these cuts and getting down the line, and there's not gonna be an RN that'll do it. And then there won't be an LPN that'll do it, or a 4 hour and a 4 hour, a 2 and a 6, or 6 and a 2. I think we're just rolling dice, you know, we're just rolling dice by cutting and not keeping in the budget.
I would do full days and not split the days, preferably probably, but being in healthcare business, I know that there are nurses and RNs and LPNs that do like to work only 2 or 3 days a work week. They are out there, if it's a nice job, and this would be a nice job.
do we need to? We don't, I mean, it's, there's a cost savings there, just with Marine retiring and us replacing her. What that cost savings is, or how we kind of figure that out is yet to be determined, but there still is
Well, it's 50.
cost savings there.
If you start them at the top of the salary scale, or the upper left, it's 15,000.
Plus no benefits, so you save money.
Well, if we get them off the teacher's salary, or the teacher's contract, you may be able to get away with that.
So we could potentially only be saving 15.
If they work,
But-
if they work
But we
30
still are
hours,
gonna do it, even,
is it 30 hours a week for the Obamacare business, and we are over 50 employees, are we under that constrict? We have to provide insurance if they work for somebody else.
We have to offer it.
I guess, Jamie, I guess I'm saying, like, if there's, it's still gonna be something that we're going to, we're still cutting that, that's still gonna be a recommendation, is to cut that. And to reconfigure that position, what that looks like is yet to be determined until we get feelers out there till we figure this out. But it's not like we're gonna say, no, wait, we can't retire, we'll keep it around, because we can't, so we cut 15,000, right?
Thank you for taking a chance.
I have a question. What do the kids need in terms to make sure that they're taken care of adequately on a consistent basis?
Well, I can tell you, many schools do LPNs, it's common. If you look at Cloquet, they have many schools, they have one RN, and the rest of the schools have LPNs.
No, I'm just asking, what do we need to adequately make sure the kids are taken care of, whether it's LPN or RN?
I think what you should do is probably go to the recommendation of the finance committee, because you guys are the ones that have to recommend, so. I mean, you asked for information, so I gave you the information. There is a variety of things that you can do, and, you know, my recommendation though, for sure, is that you have an RN for a portion of the day. Okay?
Can I ask a quick question on saving the 15,000 with Marine leaving and hiring someone at the lower step? They would continue to move up the step and
Yeah,
eventually
if they
will
were on
away
the
that.
teacher's salary schedule, that's how they work.
Okay.
Which will whittle away at what you talk about, the cost savings?
Right,
Yeah.
at overtime.
Yeah.
So we need to make a decision on moving forward with Bob's recommendation,
Well,
or deciding.
that's later, we're just on reports, so.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Bob?
Nope, that's it.
All right, everybody got Craig's report? Craig?
Yeah, as submitted, just a couple things. At the end of this week, Friday, is the grade 4 through 6 band and music concert. That's at 1 PM, and I know it's in Good Things Happening. I had indicated to Sherry, and she put it in the agenda, that the U12B girls were going to the state tournament. I just want to report, and many of you know, they actually won the state tournament this weekend and capped off a perfect season. So many of the 5th and 6th grade girls, and I think there are a few 7th grade girls that we have here are on that team, so they did a terrific job and had an incredible season, so.
Thank you. High school, Billy Joe?
Oh, here.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, as submitted, I just added one thing because I forgot to put on there, thank you to Chrissy Gantz from the Department of Corrections and Peter Eng from the Federal Prison Camp in Duluth. They came to speak to us, in service day on February 28th, about the school to prison pipeline and more restorative practices in schools. And so it was a very moving presentation for a lot of staff members. We've had a lot of good conversations about it afterwards as we were trying to move more towards restorative practices and being a more restorative school environment. So I just wanted to point that out because I added that since I sent it to you.
Alright. Thank you. Board committee reports. Finance met, we'll discuss that in a few. Facilities met, discussing that too. Anybody
Curriculum
else?
plans to meet next week.
Okay. Any other board committees? All right, if not, then we'll move on to good things happening. Lexi, you're up.
Congratulations to Ms. Fairtolo and the high school choir for receiving excellent ratings at contest. The local jazz ensemble, Jasmine Jacobson,
and Lewis Thiessen also received excellent ratings. And congratulations to the girls 12U hockey team for winning the state tournament.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so first up is an agenda item. Let's go ahead and do a motion in a second, and then we'll discuss. So consider approving the finance committee's recommended cuts for 2019-2020. Those were sent out they were included in the board packet. I will make a motion to approve those, then we'll, if I get a second, we'll discuss and go from there, so. Okay, so those cuts, and this is part of the finance committee report as well, those cuts that were on there were making that nurse position 6 hours, cutting a full-time teacher, changing the bus supervisor position and reconfiguring that, hiring our own childhood speech, delaying purchase of elementary textbooks for 1 year, and reducing the PR position for a total for the savings of $138,500. And that was the recommendation from the finance committee.
You see the teacher too?
Yes, the one teacher. I don't think that anybody on the finance committee was excited about, but
I had a caveat though, because I wanted questions answered and
right.
Sent an email on them, and I still don't understand how, I mean, you guys, if you have questions, ask first. 'Cause
Okay.
I can't believe you don't have questions.
Well, as far as the cuts go, I think should be spread across all areas in the school, not just one or two people getting their jobs cut and livelihood. I think the school board members should take some cuts from Bob to the principals to the teachers, custodians, the whole works should own part of that. It shouldn't be just one person saying, well, I got my raise, you don't count at all, you're out of here. And I really feel strongly about that, and I can discuss that further, but
Okay.
I really do. I just ethically don't think that's appropriate.
It'd be nice if that was be how it worked, but as a union member, I'm sure, Jerry, you know that it's easier said than done.
That might be true, but at least it needs to be discussed. It's not right to tell Jeff, well, I got my raise, I don't care about you, your livelihood, that's on you. And
I strongly suspect that was not the way it was
it
communicated.
sure comes across that way, and that really makes me upset. It really does. It really does.
So there were at least 5 attempts for the finance committee to get together. First couple of times Jamie couldn't make it, third time you couldn't make it, Stephen. There were many discussions. There were additional information that was discussed that Bob was able to share with us. But honestly, I don't know yet how much of that detailed level of discussion should be or can be addressed in this forum. So in light of additional information, if we can figure out ways to have maybe a subsequent meeting to have further discussions on some of the items, but some of the items that we feel comfortable with moving forward, I think we should vote on those items today. Certain items that we feel are somewhat on the fence on, we need, maybe in light of new information, maybe we need to bring that back and have a 6th attempt, have a finance committee meeting again. And if anyone is willing or wanting to participate in that finance detail level discussion, I invite you guys all to attend that. So I'm making a recommendation to move forward with certain budget items that we can agree on as a group and postpone certain items that we should have further discussions on for another finance committee meeting.
If anybody has suggestions for.
I have some ideas for cuts. I don't know if
Okay.
you want to listen to them or not, but, or at a later date, but.
I think you're into the
Thank you,
finance.
That or I
That
think
should,
this is an excellent time where I've said for 10 years, it's a great time to have a working board meeting and everybody there and can give, instead of just a finance with people coming to it. Let's sit down at a working board meeting, and in fact, if we do it in 2 weeks from now, Bob will have even more answers, I would have to think. And that is for the nurse, for Jeff. There's obviously some current concerns with the parents. Everybody talked here tonight about the teacher going to 27 and 28, the class. I think if we can figure something out or know more about it, I think we're all gonna be a lot more comfortable. I know I'm gonna be.
What grade level is that teacher cut?
chain reaction, but it's right now in first grade is a small grade.
The unfortunate thing we have this year, or didn't have this year, was a retirement. We have always been able to get away with this without having a retirement. I mean, with having a retirement, yeah. This is just not gonna
These are
happen.
not fun topics to have, but must be had, so.
I agree with you, Kim. If we could agree on any tonight, that would be great. I mean, I think there are alternatives to the bus supervisor positions, so going forward, I'd like to look at those alternatives. And it's, and I know that a teacher is on there. I know we always manage to bring a teacher back if need be. I mean, we always are cognizant of the need for low classroom size, and I think we do a good job with that. But as you know, as far as transportation director, I would like to look at different alternatives on that one.
See if there's another way of saving 25,000 in
Right.
transportation that.
Exactly. And I think we can figure something out with the nurse.
The speech,
Definitely.
I think was another one that, was the childhood speech, hiring our own childhood speech instead of contracting that out.
That would go to what Jamie was talking to about before, but I can't, it's like the chicken and the egg, you have to allow me to do that, and then we see whether we can get somebody for the price that we are offering.
So we have
But I
to-
think you almost have to do it, and then if it doesn't happen, I mean.
You need the motion that, to allow you to hire a part-time speech, and then if it doesn't happen, then we go back to.
I'd like you to move on that, and I'll move on the RN to see if we can get an RN to work 6 hours a day.
I've already had a couple emails with interest in that position.
And the textbooks, maybe you can explain that to everybody better.
So the textbooks, you know, we're looking at a new reading curriculum. And of course, that's a crucial one that we want to do, and we want to do it right. They are not ready yet to purchase that curriculum. So we would delay that for 1 year. We will still purchase the curriculum, but it will be delayed.
And I think the PR position, the reduction in the PR position is good too, until we may need it again in the future. We can review it at that time.
So can I amend, would everybody be friendly to me amending the motion that exists right now to approve cuts at, 3 cuts, the hiring of the early childhood speech, the delaying of textbooks for a year, and reducing the PR position hours.
I hate that PR position too, getting cut, but.
Did you include the childhood speech there?
Yep, so childhood speech,
And the textbook?
textbooks, and the PR position.
But you didn't, not the nurse position yet.
Not the nurse position, and then what we'll do is, we'll follow up with, asking Bob to explore, the nurse.
But if he needs us to say to do it, he needs us to say.
You need a
Do
motion.
it.
Yeah.
I have a
So I
question.
think we should cut that to
That one 2 to 6?
6 hours RN.
Okay.
Because I feel we can always review it. If
Right,
things don't
right.
work, we can review it.
Okay,
This
so
gives
we'll
us
put
Bob
RN at
the
6.
option to go and find out if something, open a job up.
Okay.
Right.
Was number one, would you repeat that again?
Okay, so actually, let me renumber these, so I'm trying to keep them on the same order as over here. So number 1 would be to reduce RN to 6 hours. The second would be to hire the childhood speech. 3 is delay textbooks, and 4 is to reduce the PR person.
On the childhood
Hours.
speech, would that be at reduced hours?
Nope, we're gonna hire instead of contracting.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, essentially, you know, we pay for like mileage and their drive time and stuff. If we took it on ourselves, that person would be our employer, and, you know, there's some
We can
inherent
still get
savings
done
there.
what we need to get done for the kids.
And it actually may
And
give us
improve?
more time.
Okay,
so.
okay, that's fine.
Then we would ask Bob to explore the RN and the speech. We would come back to, what do we do with our full-time teacher?
Come back to that.
Come back, that just goes to finance.
Because one of the things we have to
goes
take into
wording.
consideration is the fact that I think everybody got down in the legislatures on board with the 3 and the 2%.
Mhm.
And Kara, or Ms. Byrne, can bring the amounts that it would affect us or what we would get if that were to be 3% and 2%.
I do not want to cut a teacher, but I'll come up public with that, first of all, but when, at what point in time do we have to pass a resolution saying we may be reducing positions?
Well, you have to do it,
There's a deadline for that.
yeah,
Whether we do it or
probably
not.
sometime in May, but the
For hiring
problem is that then you put that person at a big disadvantage if you wait until May, because if they don't know they're getting cuts.
I just don't wanna get
Yeah.
beyond that deadline.
Typically, you do it in March or April.
And then we would come back to the transportation budget. We're just seeing if there's alternatives, filling Jeff's position, if there's another
I would like to also
25,000
say though, and include, and I appreciate everyone's
Mhm.
participation and passion for being in attendance today and supporting the support for Jeff, but I feel that the information has been one-sided, and I'm not gonna go into the other side either, but it's our job as a board to support Bob. It's not our job to do the professionals' jobs, and I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression that if you're not happy with your immediate supervisor's tasks and responsibilities given to you, you can't come to the board and say, I don't like my boss. That's not the way the forum should be working. What I would recommend, strongly urge anyone to have a clear communication with your immediate supervisor. Make sure that has been developed to the fullest degree possibilities first, because we can't be providing these kind of wrong impressions that we're gonna be coming in and saving the day if you're not happy with certain outcomes. I'm not just talking about the position of Jeff, I'm talking in general as a board responsible body. We can't be getting our hands involved in all these responsibilities that we shouldn't be getting involved in, correct?
No,
You can hear.
No, because it's our responsibility in the end to make that decision, and if we don't
True.
have, if we don't have all the information, and we don't
True.
think we've gotten all the information, that's why we did what we did tonight,
True.
is to go to a working board.
True, I totally do not disagree with you on that. I just don't wanna give the false impression that we will Band-Aid effect and mend any disgruntled situations that you've been dealing with your immediate supervisor, because that's not the way the board should be run. That's
I
my.
think there was information out in the community too that said that we were gonna make these cuts black and white,
Yeah,
and
that was
is
never
not-
communicated, and I don't know how that got out. And we were just having a finance committee meeting after 5 attempts, and we were gonna make a proposal. So no decisions were made, we were just gonna make some proposals and have an open discussion. All these emails, putting Bob's increase into the mix, that's ludicrous. That's over a 3-year period, that's about $100 that we're talking about, not $5,000 that everyone is saying that he got this significant increase. So it's just stretched out over 3 years. That's an example of an exaggerated statement that I feel that was unfairly not defended. So what we want to be able to do is provide clear explanation, and for anyone who wants to participate in that meeting, let's do this again, do it right, go through the process, make sure we are all on the same page on these recommended cuts. Everyone on board with that?
Yes, and with that, could you please repeat your amended motion?
Yes, so I've amended the motion, Kim, if you can come in for a second. So, number one, to reduce the RN position to 6 hours, to hire our own early childhood speech, to delay purchase of textbooks for a year, and to reduce the PR position hours, which means do you want that number? That's 63,500 in cuts. And then we are, I guess with that motion, we'll just say, Bob will explore the RN and the speech, to come up with more detail for us. We'll meet again, to discuss, the full-time teacher and transportation budget, supervisor/budget, see what savings are there.
Thank you.
Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's the amended motion.
Make that motion.
All right. Or I made the motion, one second.
Second.
Okay.
Was that Kim second? But I think Kim has some.
Kim has
One
a
second.
Oh, you already got it?
Yeah.
I will second that.
Okay. Thank you.
Got it.
All right, any other discussion? Does that work with everybody? All right, if there's no other discussion, then all in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consider approving art club's proposal for outdoor garden pergola mural. We had questions, Bob, you've got answers to it
Yeah,
on
so you had
those.
that in your attachments, was the answer to the questions. So today was the day you were gonna make a decision. You had two separate things. You had some murals that she was looking at, and then the pergola out in the garden outside, so.
In regards to the pergola, I said I would pay for that, and I'm gonna check the school tomorrow for that, $610.
Okay. Provided we approve it tonight.
Provided. Right.
That kind of left committee 2-1 on that part, because I just don't want it there for safety reasons, for security. I just assume it'd be somewhere else, and the access to that is gonna be from those classrooms, and that goes completely against security. And it was kind of reminding me of the cell phone things. One of the other considerations is security, is when police officers are in here, there's just, the perception's pretty bad. And it's just another way of being able to communicate. It's something to think about. But that pergola, those kids did a great job of presenting, and it looks great, but I just don't like the place, that's all. Where it's at, right in the back in the corner.
Well, I want it,
You know, off the art room and the science room.
kind of like Jamie, so it's safe. I mean,
And where
that's
did you rather see it, or?
I don't care. Honestly, I don't, anywhere.
When I too was concerned about continuity of the caring and the devotion that the first year or two folks may have now, how much interest will be continued 3, 4, 5 years from now, when it's gonna take maintenance and requirements, so I support it at the end,
Lots of
but
mulch,
some
low
concern.
maintenance.
That, I just think of the strawberry bed. That went to heck. I mean, nobody took care of that like they said they were going to. That was a great idea when they came up with that. But, it's, I just can't approve it where it's at, me.
Well, I think you could come up with a.
Better location?
Yeah, because like my brain doesn't go.
Well, I
Safe-
told
where
Jamie
would
I'd
we
wait
safely
with-
be?
until I made sure he was okay with the security issue.
Right.
Is it because it's hidden back there behind two?
That and the access, you're not supposed to have any of the doors open unless, except for the middle door to come in and out of during the day. That, the talk is to go out of the rooms and go right to there, prop the door open or whatever, that's just a security concern. I could live with if kids are gonna use it to go out the side door, even though we stopped that too, which is a great security thing. But I could live with that if there was a teacher that was watching them go out from there, that side door.
Did we ask about that location in the, after our meeting? That was not a question we sent back over to her, was
Well, these were the questions that were asked. so-
moving the location like over closer to the garage or something like that is what it was. I don't think we did, did we?
Yeah, and the other problem is they need to know now.
Right.
Get the grant, right, Bob?
Well, so is it possible we approve it with the question of can they explore another option? If they can't, everybody's okay knowing that second choice is it goes where their original choice was.
I just think right across the road. I mean, it's a nice green grass area, just like that.
Right.
Directly across, yeah, like to the right of the shed.
But are you okay with, if not, that it goes where they're wanting it?
If they can't put it there,
That's so many acres here, there's gotta be more than one spot to put it.
I think they can put it along there, I really do.
There's gotta be a safe spot.
Strongly
I wanna be-
But it's strongly encouraged.
Strongly encouraged.
Strongly encouraged, I can.
That it get, that other
can
locations
work
get,
with that.
explored or.
I think it's a great idea.
moved. Yeah.
And besides, honestly, if they put it over there, it's just another 30 yards away. And when people are like, when they need some, get out of the sun for this track.
Which shed, the one across the-
No, right here in the back.
The big one?
Yep, right to, but, you know, not right to the right of it.
Kind of away from it.
But how does that help with security? They're still gonna be going out the doors.
If they go out this door, everybody goes out that door, and then somebody's watching it like Billy Joe has done in the past, right?
Are you talking about, or going up the store by the shop, going up that way?
As long as it's one, it should be
Not
this
the classroom
sidewalk.
doors, that's what you're,
Right.
that's
Not
your
the
concern.
classroom
It's
doors,
the
yeah.
classroom door, and it's right there, and then they'll be.
Definitely not the classroom doors.
They can go out those classroom doors as long as they are not propping open.
I don't think the
No.
classroom doors have key pads
Oh.
that they can, or whatever you wanna call them, sensors, so that they can use their fob to get back in those doors. I
Okay.
think that that's,
So they can go out.
right, and I think that that's been the issue of why,
Okay.
when they've gone out that way, their problem's been because.
Gotcha, because they can't get back in. Okay.
Because if you go out that door and you turn left, it's 30 yards right there.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's pretty nice that they're trying to do a nice project.
Absolutely.
So I like the idea, sorry to interrupt again, but just in the other facility, we were able to take kids outside when it got nice outside during senior high lunches. We had the green space by the baseball field, and we'd have a supervisor go out there with them, so it would be lovely to have a space in this new setting where we can get high school age kids outside, because they still need fresh air
Yeah,
and nature.
and we do, we go on, we could probably find some place to put it.
Some of the discussion was almost,
So,
Where are we with
can
this
we get a,
motion?
yeah, can we get a motion in a second? Jamie, do you want a motion on that one?
I don't know how you can get a motion like that.
So a motion approving the proposal for outdoor garden pergola murals, the indoor murals, right? With a strong encouragement to relocate the garden pergola to,
Could we add on the motion that we say like with the approval of either the
no.
superintendent or the high school principal?
Or facilities committee.
Or, yeah.
something, you know, I mean, so then they can continue to
they can
explore.
continue exploring, right, but
But they just have
go
to
ahead
get their
and
grant in.
move forward
So,
with the grant.
With
Yeah.
approval of
Approval of
The location
location,
approval.
location,
final
By the-
location.
approval
Final,
by,
final
I-
location.
And I think it's a great idea.
By-
I don't
Yeah.
think it's a bad idea. I
by
just think of the
facilities.
security part of it, that's all.
Yeah, that's
No,
me.
that's a good idea, by
happy
facilities
to
committee,
support.
right? Facilities committee,
Yes.
okay. So Jamie made the motion, second. I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
check in tomorrow
Thanks, Jerry.
morning.
Thank you.
Maybe around 9 o'clock or whatever.
All right,
Happy to do that.
coaches' contracts, Jerry, you wanted that moved over?
Well, I was just wondering,
to see-
considering
Yep.
the finance committee, and I've got some
Yep.
ideas
Okay,
where we could spread around, and I was just on this part, I was thinking, I think everybody should share a little of the pain, if you will.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering, since we pay our assistant coaches, do we really need all of those assistant coaches, or could we cut back one or two here or there? It all helps.
and I suppose you're looking at track.
I'm looking at everything.
Which is the one that really has a lot of assistant coaches.
Think it might be a good idea for the board members to consider, I think it starts with the board that maybe we don't need our per diems for a year, and maybe we don't need to go every year to the state convention, for starters.
Mm-hmm.
I just think we're in this together.
Sure.
I've got others, but that's why I brought that up.
Okay,
How many
We'll
kids
discuss
are,
it further.
how many kids are in track?
110.
Oh, that's
And
fine.
there's boys and there's girls, and there's
Fine.
high school, there's junior high, I mean,
Still.
it's
Everybody
all
helps.
teams.
So when are you talking about for this,
Yeah, that's fine, that's all.
you just wanted to
I just wanted
move
to
it over
share
and
that.
say, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the spring coaching contracts.
Okay, I'll second that. Any other discussion? That's a good point, Jerry. I think it's something that we could explore in the future. It's gonna be, it's something that, yeah, for next year. I think the other thing about it is, we're approving coaching contracts for sports that are starting immediately instead of being able to discuss, and it's gonna have to go to liaison, anyway, to discuss how that goes, so. So we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? Not all in favor of approving the spring coaching contracts, say aye.
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 I will
Opposed?
abstain.
Okay. Opposed, motion carries. He abstained, so we've got, yeah. All right, thank you. Setting meeting dates.
Liaison is March 27th at 6 o'clock. That is at Willow River School. That is for the winter sports.
You
Yeah, I
can make that one?
No, I work at church all day.
Okay.
So,
The regular board meeting really kind of needs to be on that day, so I'm hoping that April 15th works because of some legal stuff that we have to do for the bond. We have to approve some stuff.
Okay.
So April 15th at 6, that'll be our regular one.
Yeah.
You wanted a board goal meeting, and that was originally on the 25th, but you want to change that, so we should set up some dates.
Is this the open board meeting that we're
Yeah, the
kind of talking about
special,
here?
discuss, yep.
Or
No,
working board
excuse me.
meeting, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
working
right,
board meeting?
right.
Well, they're all gonna be open.
Well, we're talking about goals,
There's
we're
only
talking about
specific things you can
finances.
close a meeting for.
So I thought one of the meetings, a working board meeting can be closed, is that not true?
No, it's,
Only if it's
it
negotiations
has to do
or,
with money or.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like if you wanna invite Sandy back and go over this, this is, this is for your eyes only because it has the dollars and whatnot in it.
Okay.
So you could do that, and if you're talking strategy for selling things and stuff like that, you can do that.
Okay.
So this board goals meeting, is this the same as this vision goal how-tos that we were gonna do? Or do you wanna have a meeting to kind of go through this, discuss, and then open for,
Are we gonna have a full board, finance meeting? I'm not sure if you
No.
suggested that, cause that might take priority over the goal meeting right now.
Yeah.
And the goal meeting
That's
might be nice to have after the phase, I don't know, 3 and 4.
You might wanna do your goals in the summer, but I feel as though, we had 3 to 5 year goals, and we're probably on year 7 of the goals, and it's probably time for an update.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit, the reason why I was asking you, do you want me to lead this? Of course I could lead you if you just wanna do a little fine tuning, but if you wanna do a total revision, that's probably should not be me. I mean, I can do it, but typically if you're doing a full, you would invite the community in, you'd invite the staff, I would be part of it, administration would be part of it, and then we would work together as, the community to come up with goals that we as a school are gonna try to
And
achieve.
thinking about somebody from MSBA helping to facilitate?
Right, and there's people, MSBA is just one
Yeah.
entity, but I honestly think it's time, but I think that's more of a summer thing, but it's up to you guys.
I'm fine with
Yeah, absolutely. Summer, it's 40 degrees out there.
that. So
postpone?
Kim is out the last week in May, I'm out the first week in April. Sorry.
May or March?
Sorry. She's last of March, I'm the first of April.
Are you talking about the goal meeting, trying to set it up?
Oh, no, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no,
Working
the
board.
Finance
Working
or
board.
So the
working
finance-
I'm
Okay.
available the 27th, 28th, and 29th of March. I'm just not here 25th
I'm
and
not, I've
26th.
got a meeting in Mount Iron, I've got a Veterans banquet, or,
Okay.
that's not a meeting for me.
So you're into April.
We gotta have it before the 15th.
How about April 8th?
Yeah, 8th of out for me, I have a meeting in Poke at 5 o'clock. Advisory committee meeting for the county.
How about the first? April 1st? Oh, you're not, you can't, first week of April. Never mind.
How about the
I'm out
11th? Oh, I'm out the 11th.
9, 10, 11, 12.
9 is good for me.
I'm not sure about 9, that
9.
might be okay.
No, that's good.
Anyone else? 9?
9 works for me.
Nine might-
9.
That might be okay.
Earlier.
We're getting close. 9.
I have a 4:30 meeting in Duluth. So I could just come when I'm done.
Maybe we should push it back a little bit.
Make it a 6 o'clock meeting?
Let's see, then, when we
Probably
go-
6:30 if your meeting doesn't start till
Well, my
4:30.
person has to be there at 4:30, would probably, I could be here by 6:30, I would think, on the 9th.
Bingo, 6:30.
And I hope I can make it.
That's finance committee?
That,
Oh, that
can
is
we,
Working board.
Working
do we
board,
want, do
okay.
we want that to be a special meeting so that if we actually,
That's not a bad.
so then we
idea.
can actually just approve anything that we,
Decide.
yeah, let's do that as a special
Yeah, with the agenda item of potential.
potential cuts.
That's at 6:30 on the 9th, right?
Yes.
And if you work backwards, the public meeting, legally, for the bond that we're going out for, you have to have a public meeting
to discuss the review and comment that we have on the bond. And it's recommended that the board members be there so that the public, you know, sees the unity and the reason why we're doing what we're doing. So
Okay.
that one has to be before the 15th.
How long does it take?
You know, I don't know that it takes that long. I
Did
mean,
we
we have to go
review?
through, you know, kind of what are the questions, what's in the review and comment, why are we going out for this, that type of thing. I would say give yourself at least 40 minutes minimum, so.
Does the 10th, 11th, or 12th work for everyone in April?
The 11th.
Tenth doesn't work for me.
How about the 11th?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thursdays are bad for me.
Oh,
On the
wait,
12th, a Friday
no,
night.
that might show in mail, just a minute. Where's it? Oh, it's in Rochester that day.
Well, it
Can-
depends if
we
it's-
need
to drive fast.
Can't even get Rochester until 2, I think I could.
Can we have that at 5:30 and Lisa just can't be there? I mean, it's.
What day's that?
It's the bond thing on the 9th. Do you care? I mean, you already.
Yes, I
gave-
care.
I mean, care, but if we
No,
can get
that
this thing going,
No,
I
that would
mean,
be fine.
That could work.
why don't we do that at
That would be-
5:30 then?
So,
On the 9th?
Yeah.
Okay.
like an hour before 6:30?
Yeah.
So it's a 5:30 special meeting instead of
Yes.
6:30.
We can call
Okay,
it a
so-
special.
Uh,
meeting at the-
Public meeting.
Yeah.
No,
Meeting
public meeting is at 5:30.
At 5:30, yes.
Oh, that's a public meeting.
That's a public meeting at 5:30. And
And I
then,
would say if the public has a lot of questions, that's gonna take priority and push your other meeting back. But
Yes.
I think we
Okay.
would,
we can do that,
Will the
right?
public meeting be in the auditorium then?
I would say so.
Okay.
I'll have to make sure it's open,
And then our special meeting, will that be?
6:30.
After,
That's-
or,
will that
or,
be
or
in-
after.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm wondering where it's gonna be, auditorium or here?
but I think here might be better, but
It's hard to get these hard to
Yes.
get boards meeting in the auditorium.
So 5:30 is the.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Because you have the board goal meeting in the auditorium, that is why I'm asking, I didn't
Yep.
just come up with that.
Nice and stuff.
And then the goals you're looking at, we can postpone that a little bit and bring that back up.
Yeah.
The goals, we're looking
Yeah.
summerish.
Yeah.
So then your March 25th rescheduled, that's just part of the goals that we
Yeah. That's,
set all together?
that
That
can
work?
be pushed out, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Is that it?
is that it? Jamie?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Can you ask for the names? Okay. What's that? No. Thank you though. All right, oh, does anybody need a baseball card?